Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about how to create this table view programmatically in UIKit. This is something that's extremely easy to do in SwiftUI, but doing it within UIKit without storyboards takes a little bit more setup. So I'm going to go into that. You'll be able to create all these cells for the data you have. You'll be able to tap it and navigate into the next view controller, and you'll be able to go back to the original list. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is create a new project. We'll call this TableView project. And you want to make sure for interface you have storyboard selected, even though we won't be using storyboards. Create that on the desktop, wherever you want. Now, there's a few things we're going to need to do to get rid of that storyboard setup that they gave us, this template. So we're going to delete this main storyboard, move it to trash. We're going to need to remove references to that main storyboard so that it doesn't look for it. Scene configuration, window application session role, items, storyboard name, main. So we're going to get rid of that as well. And within our scene delegate, we're going to need to type a few things in here. So this was previously ignored, but we're going to now establish it as a window scene. We're going to say window, referring to this right here, is a UI window of frame window scene coordinated space dot bounds window dot something I spell wrong constantly for some reason. Window window scene equals window scene. Now we're going to be using a navigation controller. So before we do that, we're going to say let root VC equals our view controller, which is right here. This is the main view controller we're going to use for this project. And we can say let navigation controller equals UI navigation controller with a root view of right here, our view controller, root VC. The last thing we need to do, window dot root view controller is our navigation controller, and make sure that our view controller is key and present. It's difficult to talk and type at the same time, so keep that in mind. Make key and visible. So now if we did this right in our view controller, what we can say is view.background color is red. Now if we open this up in our simulator, build it in our simulator, hopefully what we should see is our screen is fully red. All right, so we're all set there. Everything worked well. In Xcode 15, they added the ability to visualize your UIKit code in the canvas, much like they have in SwiftUI. So we're going to do that now. We're just going to say preview view controller. Right, so this is going to create a new view controller and return it in this preview canvas. So we should be able to see it here. I'm going to end the simulator. So there is our view right here. All right, so because we embedded this within a navigation controller, what we'll be able to say is title equals table view. And you won't see it here because this is just the view controller. But when we build it on the simulator, we should be able to see our table view here. And we can take navigation controller dot navigation bar prefers large titles equals true. Launch that again. We should see it in a large title across the display right here. All right, so now we're getting close to building our table view. The first thing we'll do is create it as a property. So we'll say let table view is a UITableView, and we can create it, instantiate it here. we'll just say let TV equals UITableView and return TV. We're going to say, this is something I mess up all the time, but TAMIC, which is translate auto resizing mask into constraints equals false. And that will allow us to use auto constraint, auto sizing, something like that. TV.allow selection equals true. And we're going to register our data as a UITableView cell.self for cell reuse identifier. We're going to use the identifier cell. So there is our table view. We're also going to create our data. So we'll say let cities is an array of string. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to say Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, and let's say Dallas, right? So there's our 6 cities. We won't see anything quite yet. There's a few more steps we need to take. So let's go ahead and get ready to start building. Actually, before we start building, we're going to add an extension to this view controller. Extension on view controller. This is going to conform to UITableView, UITableView data source, and UITableView delegate. Right? So by saying that it conforms to that, this is going to require some protocol stubs, which we will allow Xcode to fill in for us. Right now it gives us 2, but we should need a third, I believe. This, they all have the same function name, but they have different purposes. This one is basically asking for how many rows should your table view have. We could manually say 6, but we don't want to hard code that. What we want to say instead, since we're using our cities here, we will type in cities.count, which will return the number of strings in our array, which is 6. So that will create 6 spaces on our table graph. This one, cell for row at. So basically we are creating each individual UITableView cells and returning it. So we'll say let cell equals TableView dot DQ reusable cell for identifier with identifier cell for our index path. Okay. Now we'll say return cell, and we'll also say we'll give our cell a text label. So cell.textLabel.text equals cities, and we'll give our path here index path path.row. Did I get this correct? I did. Okay. So basically we are taking, for each of these indexes, for each of these cells that we're creating, we're assigning Philadelphia to the first one, New York to the second one, Chicago, instead of saying, city 0. So the first one in our array here, instead of saying New York, the second one in our array, we will say index path dot row, and that will do it automatically for us. And that will assign the text label. And what we can also do, since we're going to be able to click these, is we'll add a little triangle. I think it's called a chevron to the right, which is a disclosure indicator, just indicating to the user that it's something that they can tap. So we'll add, it's called an accessory type of disclosure indicator. And so this won't be visible yet because we didn't add it to our view. Hopefully, after this step, we should be able to visualize it on screen. We'll create a new function called build table view. and we'll say view.add subview. This is going to be adding our table view that we previously established to our view. And we're going to need to, it's called auto sizing or auto constraints, or forget the terminology exactly, but we need to assign, where on the screen it should exist, how big it is, stuff like that. So we can do that pretty easily by adding, it's called ns_layout_constraint.activate. And this requires, within it has an array of constraints that we can add. And for this one, for the table view, we're just going to add a top one, a leading, trailing, and a bottom. So that will fill our screen completely, besides our navigation title. So we'll say table view dot top anchor dot constraint is equal to our view margin layout guide, which is the safe area of our screen, dot top anchor. We'll add, this is wrong. We'll add a leading one. So we'll say top view dot leading anchor constraint is equal to our view dot layout margins guide dot leading anchor. We'll say again our trailing anchor constraint is equal to our view dot layout margins guide dot trailer. It's a lot, I know, and it's really easy to make mistakes, but we're just going to, it's a very simple step for just this view because it takes up the whole thing. So we'll just stick with this, right? So this is our constraints. So it'll be pinned to the top, the left, the right, and the bottom. And so that should be enough. Let's see. Build table view. Okay, no, it's not enough. Actually, let's try building this and see what the issue is. Okay, we're missing something. What are we missing? Oh, we're missing our data. So this isn't something you can assign here, but the table view is there. It just doesn't have anything visible because we didn't assign the data. We didn't assign the data to be drawn out. And so what we can do within our build table view function, we will say table view dot data source equals self. And let's see if that works. Okay, so now it's drawing. So now we've assigned the table view to itself. And if we launch this, you'll see it's visible on screen. It's got our disclosure indicators, but when we tap it, it doesn't do anything. And that's something that we need to add down here. I thought because we added this delegate requirement that it would automatically add it for us, but we can just go ahead and say we've got number of rows, cell for row at, which is where we're assigning the cell for each spot. We need to say did select row. Wait, table view did. Okay, why is that not working? Let's say table view dot delegate equals self. Interesting. All right, I must have done something wrong here. I've got UI conforming to UITableView data source and UI. Here we go. So I said UITable tab bar delegate, but this needs to conform to UITableView delegate. So now we can add that last function, did select row at. So here's the third function. Basically, this is saying to Swift, when this is selected, what should it do? And for this, we're just going to say navigation, because we have a navigation controller, push the new view controller animate it true. And right here, we're going to say what new view controller should we push. So we're going to create a new one real quick. I'm just saying Command N, Cocoa Touch class, UI view controller subclass, and we'll call this our city view controller is fine. We'll make this view dot background color equals blue so we can tell if it's working. And then in our view controller, back in our did select row at, we'll say city view controller. So push this new view when it's selected at its path, index path. Okay. So let's see if that worked. Great. So now it's pushing the new view on top of the old view. We're able to go back. I'm going to do just a very minimal amount of this just to make sure it's working. I'm just going to say, I'm going to get rid of this. I'll say white is fine. Title equals, let title is let city is a string. And we need to initialize this. We'll say init city string, that's fine. This is going to require this other initializer. I wish I could explain this a little further why it's needed, but I don't know. So we're just going to skip that for now. We'll say our title is equal to city, and we'll say our navigation controller dot navigation bar prefers large title is true. And this is going to require a super init nil and nil. Now hopefully we've got this right. Great. So that is our very, very simple city view controller. Now this is going to break because we've said in this view controller that a city name of with a string is required. So for city, we'll say cities index path dot row. So that will give us the one that was selected. So basically, if you click this, it should say, hold on, we'll build this in the simulator. Check it out. Now if you click Denver, there we go. So there's our navigation title right there. Go back. The last thing I'm going to add to this is you can see once it's been selected, it still remains selected. And so we need to also deselect it. So we'll say TableView dot deselect row at index path. And animated, true. I'm not sure if it needs to be animated, but if we launch it again, we should see Philadelphia, go Birds. There we go. It's deselected. All right, so that's it for now. Hopefully I'll get some more complicated UIKit videos soon. I'm still learning myself, so teaching as I go. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.